If it's thinner matzah, then it's going to be about a quarter of a matzah. If it's even thinner, then it's a third. It depends, you know, how quick I'm doing it, depending how many matzahs. Basically, what you want to do is you want to get a total. You want to have at least 20 grams of matzah. And you're also considering that pieces fall out on the floor, some pieces, and then some pieces get stuck between the teeth, right? So, but you want to be consuming about 20 grams of matzah from Leitzi matzah. So you calculate before Pesach how many matzahs are in a pound, and then you do the math, you figure it out. It's 8 matzahs to pound. That means every matzah is 2 ounces. You only need like 2/3 of an ounce. That's all you need. That's total. That's total 2/3. It means you're getting no, actually, no, not total, not total. Total you want to have if you're doing you're having a matzah from each, you have 3 matzahs, then you want the total should be approximately, to be safe, I would say about an ounce. Because you're taking an ounce, you have to take a kazayis from each matzah. But when you think kazayis from each matzah, you don't have to be so strict like if all you have is the kazayis. Because the idea of taking kazayis from each matzah is rabbinic, right? Makes sense? It's a rabbinic idea to take a kazayis from each matzah. So there's different measurements of kazayis. So when you have your own 3 matzahs, you take a kazayis from the top and a kazayis from the broken piece. You want to make sure that it totals about an ounce. It's actually less, but an ounce, less, If people those are not having their own 3 matzahs, only getting is giving you a piece of matzah, so it should be about 2/3 of an ounce. Okay, and then goes the mar, then goes the mar, then goes the sandwich. We did this yesterday just because when we started, you were here and you wanted to say yesterday, I figured just run quickly so everyone else shows up. Okay, so the matzah, then the mother, and then goes the koinach, the sandwich. We already discussed about the sandwich, that you take the kazayis from the bottom, right? We said that, take a kazayis. Did we discuss it yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, we discussed about the bottom piece, and we take the kazayis, the sandwich. So where we're up to now is the eating of the eggs at the beginning of the meal. So at the beginning of the meal, after you finish the sandwich, now you don't talk until the sandwich. After the sandwich, now you're allowed to speak finally. Now you get customers, you take the egg that's on the taita, on the Seder plate, and we eat the egg, we peel the egg on the garbage can, and we dip it into salt water, and we eat from it just a small piece. You don't eat a lot of it, just a small piece. What's the idea of eating the egg? Because the egg is connected to Avelis, to mourning, God forbid. Someone who's Avelis, who's in mourning, and there's the custom that they would give, like it still is, that you give eggs to the one who's in mourning, because the egg is round and it shows how the world goes around and it doesn't stay in one place. That's why I shouldn't created the world. That's not how it is. That no one stays forever. Right, Hashem. And when the world evolves, and that's the eggs commemorate mourning. And the night of Pesach, we are also mourning. Why are we mourning the night of Pesach? Now, I shouldn't say we are mourning. Not mourning the night of Pesach. The night of Pesach has a connection to mourning. What's the connection of the night of Pesach with mourning? Because the night of Pesach, at the same time, we're celebrating freedom. We're doing all the mitzvahs, but we're being reminded that we don't have to make some mikdash. Because we have roast the neck of a chicken on our Seder plate commemorating the current Pesach. We don't have the current Pesach. We have something commemorating the current Pesach. Why just commemorating? Well, you can't bring the current Pesach. Oh, why not? Oh, there's no base of mikdash. Oh, why? Because it's destroyed. So there's a connection to warning for destruction of the Mikdash. That's the meaning of eating the egg dipped in salt water at the beginning of the meal. A lot of people don't like it, from our family. But I encourage, just take a sniff. You don't really can't stand it. You don't have to. You don't have to think that you must eat from it and you have to mamish like, it's going to ruin the whole yom to having it. But all you need is take a small piece, take from the white, the egg just breaks apart into pieces. You give it a small piece of the egg. You don't need a kazais, the egg. And then afterwards goes shulchan the meal, like we said before, is a mitzvah to eat so you don't want to eat too much matzah. That's why we gave all the measurements. Eat just what you need. You don't want to come to shulchan and you can't eat because you already eat so much matzah. Now, the shulchan also makes sure that you don't eat too much, because if you eat too much, after shulchan comes the afikoman. Afikoman, what's afikoman? Afikoman is the matzah you eat at the end of the meal. What does afikoman represent? The current Pesach. We're eating a piece of matzah to commemorate the current Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice that was eaten at the end of the meal. We can't eat roasted meat because it looks like eating the current Pesach. So you eat a piece of matzah. Now, so you want to make sure that you don't eat so much during the meal. So when it comes to afikoman, you can't eat. Oh, you could eat anyways. Okay, I'm full, and I'm going to push myself to it anyways. And what's wrong with that? Well, if you're already full and you really have no appetite to eat afikoman, and you're going to push yourself to eat afikoman, which is great, even though you have no appetite, you can eat it nevertheless. But then you're not performing the mitzvah in the best possible way. The best possible way of doing the mitzvah in afikoman is to eat it with an appetite. And if you don't really have an appetite, you're still doing the mitzvah, but not in the best possible way. And if a person really cannot eat, if the person is really so stuffed that he's going to be, feel repulsive to eat it, then he's not doesn't even feel the obligation. Okay, but that's not so common. But more common is that you have no appetite, not necessarily can eat, but you could, but then you're not fulfilling the mitzvah in the best possible way. Now, so you want to make sure not to eat too much, and you do want to make sure to drink a lot, because after the afikoman, we cannot eat anything, and we're not allowed to drink anything, even water. Now, let me say it more accurately. I said you're not allowed to drink even water. That's according to many Chabad. According to halacha, you could drink water. Many Chabadis, we don't even drink water. The reason why we don't eat or drink anything after afikoman, because we want the taste of the afikoman to stay in your mouth. And if you eat and drink afterwards, you're taking away the taste. So we're not supposed to eat or drink anything after afikoman. Water is allowed according to halacha, but many Chabad is that we don't even drink water. Now, I said you can't eat anything that's also not accurate. There's something you could eat.
More afikoman.
Exactly. You want to eat more matzah. That's one thing you're allowed to do that. You can eat more matzah, right? Like you want to eat more matzah, right? So that's all. Because the reason it shouldn't take away the taste. Matzah won't take away the taste from the matzah. So.
Well, if you just have your Seder till sunrise, then you can go home, say morning bracha, and then that's what you do after the lunch.
Then you can go and eat more matzah.
No, you can go home, say morning bracha, eat whatever you want to eat.
It's already dawn, but it's still night.
After we left our theater on the summer break.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like
Like, I couldn't handle it. Okay. What the hell? Yes, before dawn, like middle of the night.
No, I'm saying when the sun's on there.
Oh, that's for sure. I thought you asked me. I thought your question was if you go to sleep, when you wake in the middle of the night. Not even sure about that. How that works? If you wake in the middle of the night before dawn and you already slept. I'm not sure.
We got home in the
I thought that's what you asked me. Once it's dawn, then yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. So How much afikaiman do you have to eat? You have to eat two kazesim. Why two kazesim? Because why do you have to commemorate the current Pesach? But the current Pesach was eaten with matzah. So one kazai is to commemorate the current Pesach, and one kazai is to commemorate the matzah that was eaten with the current Pesach. So you want to eat two kazesim of afikaiman. Now these two kazesim are more lenient than the kazais that you use for matzah, which we said is about 20 grams. So the total of the two kazesim that you have in afikaiman should be approximately an ounce. More accurately, less than an ounce. Maybe like about maybe 24 grams, somewhere around there. I'm just saying it's easier to say an ounce. You have about an ounce of matzah total. And if you have the only matzahs, you're using the larger piece of the middle matzah that was broken, which you broke into 5 pieces. That's what you're having. But it's possible that that could be much more than an ounce. If you're having the thick matzahs and you broke your matzah into the larger pieces, much larger than the smaller one, let's say you broke it 70-30. So that matzah could be that the 5 pieces could be close to 2 ounces if it's a thick matzah. So you don't have to have all those 5 pieces just because those 5 pieces is afikaiman. If you have a thinner matzah, then pretty much that's what you need to have. Okay, so the first 2 nights of Pesach, when you're davening, you are saying, if you're going to be davening night, you can also say the entire halal with the bracha. Only time we say halal at night with the bracha, the 2 nights of Pesach. The first night of Pesach, we do not say the entire Shema. We only say, and there's different opinions, most opinions seem to hold, they only say the first Parsha, Shema, Uvisha, Rechel. According to my father, you'd say the first 3 Parshas, till Emes. Of course, you say a Malpin also. That's only the first night of Pesach, because the first night of Pesach, it's called the Leil Shemurim, the night that Hashem protects us. The explanations why it's called Leil Shemurim, but that's what's in Shemot, the night that Hashem is protecting us, and therefore, the Shema, all the things that we say in Shema, the purpose is extra protection that we need at night. It's night of protection, so you don't need all those extra protection that we're saying. You're only saying the first parsha, according to my father, is the first 3 parshas. So there's different opinions, different about what to do. I grew up always saying 3 parshas, and I grew up and hear other opinions, and things are a lot other Rabbanim would say that's the first parsha. So actually, I don't know what the majority of the Rabbanim is. I shouldn't say a lot, but hearing a lot about that. But so what is? Any questions? Because I want to discuss the Chumash, the students on Pesach. Yeah.
You said it was the first night or both nights?
First night of Pesach. First night of Pesach. Yeah. Okay, good. If it says the first night of Pesach, the many years not to lock yours. One of the reasons is also, it's not just because Hashem is protecting us, there's also another reason, and it says that's the night we're waiting to hear the glory of the redemption. So you don't want the doors to be locked, you want it to be easier. That's right. So if you live in a place that's not safe, then it says you don't rely on miracles. So at the same time that we should keep our doors unlocked. If it's not safe, because you shouldn't. So here's what Al says. Interesting. The custom is we don't lock our doors the night of Pesach, because it's Leil Shemurim. So I said Leil Shemurim, at night Hashem protect us, but there's also another explanation that which Rashi gives in Chumash. It's a night that Hashem is guarding, meaning Hashem is sort of saving this night, that this should be a special night, which is an opportune time for Hashem to take us out of Golus. And when Yohan is going to come to notify us the Geula, the door should be open and we'll be able to run out faster. The door is locked. We want to go meet the Yohan. Now you have to unlock the door, take out the bolt. In those days, had the big bolt to take it out. It takes time. You want to be able to run out quickly. So that's the reason why we unlock, we keep the door unlocked. That's the simple reason going to Shulchan. But now, for in a place where there are thieves, we don't rely on a miracle. Really growing up, we used to, and I don't know if this is something that's necessarily brought anywhere, something has to be found. This thing growing up, what I remember. So, front door in our house, there's 2 locks. But people usually have one lock. So we used to, it says you're not supposed to, it's not safe, right? So you keep locks. So we used to keep only lock 1 lock instead of 2 locks. I'm not saying this is something that we have to follow, but it's something that we did. Okay. So we're going to start discussing now the chumras, the stringencies of Pesach. So there's a chumrah regarding salt. It seems that back in the days, it was common that between the salt they would find grains of wheat kernels. It seems that the process, they would process the wheat, was next to the same place they process the salt. So they would have to check the salt from any kernels of wheat. And this custom sort of remained that a lot of people still will check the salt. You have to check the salt. Well, basically, you want to buy the thick salt. If you go into the store on the Kosher Pesach aisle, you'll find the thick salt, the thicker salt. The thicker salt is easier to check and see what's going on. The thinner salt, you can't really see what's doing there. So we buy the thicker salt. And many of the customs where I grew up is we check the salt. Does it mean you have to check the salt? No. But we used to take a piece of paper, a white piece of paper, and put salt over it. Just quickly, it doesn't take so long actually. We pour salt on a white piece of paper, and then quickly you go through because the back is white. If there's any particles, you'll be able to see what's going on over there. Now, in general, when we talk about stringencies of Pesach, as a general understanding of the stringency of Pesach, okay, I'll explain that later because I want to first explain other things. There are certain things we keep on Pesach that is not just a stringency, but that's accepted. I was going to say when it comes to stringency, I was going to discuss how the stringency, how you have to approach them, how you take it upon yourself, what's the close to you. But I want to say first this. There's certain stringencies that is passed down to us by the Rabbeim that we keep. For example, we don't eat garlic and radishes. That comes from the radishes come from the Seder, and the garlic also is brought down. One of the Rabbeim mentioned it because he mentioned I think because of the King Ega said it. So he says we have to keep to that. Actually, garlic is not the radishes, it's in Seder, brings down, so we don't eat radishes. And garlic, I believe, is brought down in Shulchan that's brought down. Yeah, it is garlic. Brought down in Shulchan one of the codifiers and Allah can bring down, we should be strict, not to eat garlic. And I'm almost sure one of the Rabbeim commenting on that even though we don't understand, we should keep it. We should keep this custom. So in other words, when it comes to example, so it comes to these things, this is something that should be kept. You don't use these things. Doesn't mean it's chametz, but this is something you want to take upon yourself right away that we don't use these foods. But when it comes to other things, for example, let's say sugar. Let's go to sugar now. So sugar is something that the Rabbeim kept, and they did not use any sugar at all. What about us? So a lot of people Chabad will not use sugar unless it's cooked before Pesach. It seems that the Rabbeim were not one of the Rabbeim commented something that he's not so thrilled about this that people think that they have to imitate me. In other words, the Rabbeim had certain customs, which one of them was not to use sugar. And one of the Rabbeinu, the Mirasha, the Rashab, I don't remember, commented that I don't recall the exact expression, says I don't like the fact that people think that imitates what I'm doing. In other words, just because I'm not using sugar means the also not using sugar. But of course, the stringency, many people cook the sugar before Pesach. That's didn't negate that stringency. Just that the Rabbeim did not eat sugar even if they cooked it. Okay, so the cooking of the sugar, we didn't explain that. You understand what the idea of cooking sugar? That you explain that?
No.
What's the idea of cooking the sugar? You're asking? I'm going to explain it. So what's the idea of cooking the sugar before Pesach? Anyone knows? What's the concern of sugar? There might be something there, right? Now, anything that you cook before Pesach becomes nullified in 60. So even if there's something there, but you cook before Pesach, it's gone. It's not, it becomes permitted. It's not like all year round, when something not kosher mixed with kosher, the 60 gets becomes nullified. Now, we're not allowed to nullify something that's not kosher. Now I'll do such a thing. But that's not what you're doing. You don't know there's something not kosher in there. You're cooking it. Now you cook sugar. In case there's something there, it will become nullified. That's the idea of cooking sugar. So a lot of people in Lubavitch will not use sugar unless it's cooked. This is very common. A lot of people keep that they won't eat sugar unless it's cooked before Pesach. It could be that some people don't eat sugar at all, but you see from the Rashab and Marash made a comment that it seems that it's not something that's everyone's accept and feel that they have to keep this stringency upon themselves. Because once it's cooked, there's really nothing to be concerned with that. There's actually a story with one of the Hasidim that he wanted to make sugar for people that ever not Rashab. Not Rashab, yeah. Because he brand new came in and he brought in sugar. What's sugar? And the Shabbos was not use sugar at all, no matter what. And he brought it in. And what he did was he broke open a sugar cube and out fell a kernel of wheat. It didn't make any sense. And the idea was that because the Rabbein they had this minute not to use it, this was something that was. And he proved his point in a certain way, which you don't understand how it happened. But when it comes to chametz on Pesach, the Rabbein had stringencies that the following. I think we discussed it about something. Did we discuss it here?
Yeah.
We said stories, different tzaddikim, okay, how when it comes to Pesach, that's stringencies that we don't understand, but chametz is, there's expression said chametz on Pesach is with a mashre. Even if a drop of chametz gets mixed up, it does not become nullified. The chametz the mashre. There's an expression, chametz the mashre. Chametz on Pesach is mashre according to what you are. According to your level, the higher level you are, the stricter you have to be when it comes to Pesach, when it comes to chametz. There's a story with the Rebbe actually, that once by the Seder table, the Rebbe used to be the Seder table upstairs in the Frierdiker Rebbe's apartment until 1970, and till the Frierdiker Rebbe's passed away, and they were serving soup or whatever. They were, knedlach, matzo balls, knedlach. Yiddish was called knedlach, and they were serving something, and one of the few around the table asked waiter to do something in there that looked like a matzo ball. Obviously, it wasn't, not here. Even with matzo, you don't do it. You have to think, what is this? So, for a joke, he said, knedel. A knedel, which means like a joke, a knedel, you never heard it. They became very serious and the never not even. Why? Because he said the word knedel, which was funny. That's what it was said. So it meant something. It meant that this is not to him. So there's certain things that are beyond our understanding, but let's say we can do it at a whole different level. Okay, so getting back to the chum. Oh, then there's another chumrah when it comes to brachs. We spoke a little about the brachs. We spoke a little bit about it, but there's different levels of chumras within the brachs. So the brachs is that it's easy not to make the matzah wet in case there's some flour stuck in there, right? and if it gets wet, the flour comes together with the water, and it could come chametz. So a lot of people will not eat the brachs. They won't take matzah and make knevach out of it. That's one level of the brachs. That they don't do the brachs. They're not going to take matzah and make knevach out of it, which according to halacha is no issue because it can't become chametz. It's a stringency. That's one level. But everything else, you eat matzah and put it into the water, you eat it right away, big deal. And there's another level that it won't even they won't make the matzah wet. But there's matzah on the table, and they're eating matzah, eating soup, but just you don't put it together. Then, but us, we're careful that we don't even keep it together. Because the matzah should be covered the whole time, and we eat the matzah, then we put away the matzah, then we take out everything else. So many Chabad is that we're extremely strict when it comes to the brachs. So within the meaning of the brachs, there's many different levels of how strict we are with the brachs. Minig Chabad, so this is a clear minig Chabad. So it's different than other customs. For example, I think there's a custom that if some have a custom that if something falls on the floor, they won't use it at Pesach. You heard that custom? When I grew up, that's how it was. Something fell on the floor, picked it up, put it on the side. That's not that's not on the same level of the brachs. The brachs is something that's passed down from our Rabbeim, that we're careful, the matzahs are covered, we eat the matzah, then we put it away, then we eat other foods. Now, within that, there is also more strict and more strict. I've seen different places, for example, like at home, before we brought other foods, not only first we ate the matzah is covered, we ate the matzah, finish the matzahs, then we put it away, and then we clear the table. We wipe the table clean, shouldn't any crumbs. Then we brought the food. In other places, I've seen other houses that they keep the brachs very strict, but things are brought to the table even while there may be some matzah around, maybe some crumbs that want wiped off the table. So it's not like, there's no real issue over here. In terms of practically speaking, the matzah, there's some crumbs of matzah on the table, and there's a bowl of soup over there. The matzah is not going to jump up and go into the soup. So I'm saying it's not like you have to go crazy. You see such a thing, but I'm saying when I grew up, we were very strict with Kabbalah. That's why I tried at home also to keep it that way as much as possible. That first you clear the table from the matzah, and then you bring everything else. But you may see things in other houses not exactly like that, but they eat the matzah, and you still maybe a bag of matzah and some crumbs, but they're already bringing the fish already. We have to know that there's no, so what's the right way? This already, whichever way, you're still doing min Chabad, because you are careful with the brachs. You keep keeping the matzahs covered, you make sure the matzah doesn't mix with other foods. So both are fine, one is better than the other. Now I started saying before, because I want to explain about a general attitude when it comes to stringencies of Pesach. You have to understand that keeping stringencies on Pesach, you have to know how to go about it. Stringencies cannot affect the atmosphere of Yom Tov, cannot affect the atmosphere of Shalom Bayis, cannot affect the atmosphere of general of Yom Tov, of Simchas Yom Tov. So if we keep stringencies in a way where it's affecting Simchas Yom Tov, then you're gaining. What are you gaining and what are you losing? You're losing more than you gain, because Simchas Yom Tov is a mitzvah from the Torah, Samachim Chagecha, and being strict is a stringency. Now this should not be taken out of context. Some people would like to take it out of context. All these things, all these stringencies, it affects my Simchas Yom Tov. That's also the wrong attitude. The point is that when we keep stringencies, it has to be in a way where it does not cause any stress to anyone. It causes stress to the spouse, cause stress to the children, where the children become like all stressed out, and then they could start resenting, like, oh, Pesach is so hard, and this and that, they feel still in the shrine, so that's one thing you have to understand. Another thing you have to understand is that any stringency they're gonna take upon yourself. Obviously, I showed you certain stringencies are more important than others, but at the end of the day, if every stringency is accepting, you have to accept it because you're excited about it. I don't mean excited. I mean, but you have to feel like you want to do it. That's something that I want to accept upon myself. Like anything else you do in Yiddishkeit, that you take upon yourself. Whichever point you want in your life when you start accepting more things, more things. Why did you accept this? Why did you accept that? If you feel I want to start writing Shabbos candles, no, I have to write Shabbos candles. Oh, I'm stuck. I have no choice. I'm sure it's not. That's not how you felt. At some point, you became excited about. Yeah, I want to do this. But even though these are stringencies, but you accept it at a point in your life when you feel like I want to serve Hashem in a nice way. I want to. These are something that's important. We see from the Rabbein that having hummus stringencies. We see from Halacha. Halacha it's also speaks about different the importance of stringencies in different areas. It has to come from a healthy place where you feel like, okay, I'm ready to accept it upon myself. You could still say Bli Neder, you should say Bli Neder. Any stringency you take upon yourself, you still want to say Bli Neder in case something comes up later on, but you're accepting it, but it should be in a way that you're excited, you want to do it. It's something that I feel I can deal with it, and I want to take it upon myself. Not in a way where you have to keep it. Now, just to give you an example, on a personal level, like I grew up at home that if anything fell on the floor, we wouldn't use. Right? We put it on the side. I always wondered why can't you wash it? Just wash it and use it. But there's no custom. When it comes to stringencies, even if it doesn't make any sense, it's still a stringency. We see things are passed down from generations from great people, great tzaddikim, but we don't laugh at stringency when it comes to Pesach. Doesn't mean we have to do everything, but we understand it's not something that we push away. This is a meaning that I grew up with. Something falls on the floor, we didn't use it. So we got married, I'm also trying to keep it. Then I realized, my wife points out to me, listen, this is your kids, when you have kids, everything falls on the floor all the time. Right? So we're not gonna it's gonna be ridiculous. Everything something falls on the floor, we won't be able to. Okay, so I can't. If it's the no shown by, if it's going to affect shown by, it affects shown by things which need a wife, need the children also, everyone. It doesn't work. So when something falls, what I do is I wash it very well and then we use it. I'm going to put it on the side. It's just not going to be sympathetic. So it's give an example that now do I have to be mat? I was never mat to never nullifying the vow. I don't think I have to do it because there's stringencies. The stringencies you don't need to do hataras nedarim. Only something that has to be used in halacha. I don't think you have to. Maybe I'll look into it. Maybe I do have to. But this is just getting an example of something I grew up with, but then I feel like it just doesn't work because with kids, things are falling all the time. Now, why when I grew up, how did you manage them? I don't know. Maybe kids were less clumsy then. I don't know. But in general, people change over the years. It's a fact. It's not a fact. My kids are growing up, their relationship to me and my relationship to my parents is like you can't compare. It's like it's just different. Kids are different. Kids say different things that I never dreamed of saying to my parents. My kids would say to me because it's just different. The kids are changing. The difference between the first part of the family and the second half is also different. The generation is changing. People are different, and you have to work with the times, but all within the confines of Torah. Torah can't change, but Torah has space for within Torah that certain things have to be adjusted according to the times, according to the needs of children. So it's something very important to keep in mind. The attitude when it comes to chumras, it should never be in a way where it comes on the spouse and the children in a way where it becomes like a negative feeling. We don't want, we should, some point in their life, they should say, oh, it's Pesach, we don't like this is this. These things could happen, and it does happen sometimes when people don't have that approach of, connecting with, the family and understanding how they feel about things. Okay. So another example was going to bring, which is a chumrah, which is so there are chumras that are brought, like I said, there's different levels of chumras. I'm trying to point out as much as possible which, the different levels of chumras. So there are chumras that are brought actually also in Shulchan Aruch, which is already accepted that people do, but it's brought as a chumrah. So for example, and we discussed it already, but of course discussing chumras, I'm just putting everything together. We scrub the chairs. Do we have to scrub the chairs? We said certain things people do for Pesach has nothing to do with Pesach. It's just called spring cleaning. Fine, but then there's things that have to do with the spring of Pesach, like chairs that chametz touches it, and maybe something stuck to the chair, and we scrub. Do we have to scrub it according to halacha? No, but that's the chumrah, and that's brought in Shulchan Aruch that we should scrub anything that came into contact with chametz. And what's if this chametz stuck in a crevice in the chair, a crumb, something that there's no way to get it out? You try with a Q-tip, and you can't even get it out. Nothing is happening over here. So then, according to halacha, no problem. But you can't get it out. You can't get to it, and you bring anything near. But if you know there's something there, if there's some actual stuff here, and Shulchan Aruch it says there's a chumrah to Shulchan Aruch says to plaster it with teeth. The word is cement. Okay, this isn't cement. It can mean whatever. Plaster it with something so it should be totally. So you can't even. It's not even possible to get to. We're talking about if there's actually chametz in there that you can't get out. We're not talking about mamash, you clean out whatever you could, and you start plastering over all the everywhere where you clean, you don't mean that. But if there's something here that you can't get out, it says you should put over it. And this is brought in Shulchan Aruch. And the expression Shulchan Aruch is that Yisrael Kedoshim. Jews are holy and we're careful. It says Yisrael Kedoshim. Jews are holy and they're careful to be strict, and they scrub all the chametz, and if there's anything stuck in a crack, they would put some teeth, which teeth literally means cement, but it means whatever, something to cover over it. This is pretty much with the chumras of Pesach. Oh, peeling vegetables, right. Oh, so there, right. So there's another chumrah, peeling everything. Like, for example, so when I grew up, we never used tomatoes in Pesach, because tomatoes have to be peeled. How do you peel tomatoes? So we're going to use tomatoes. Now, my wife buys tomatoes and she peels it. There's special peelers for peeling tomatoes also, which I just didn't have back then, or I don't know what. Now we but now again, this is a chumrah that not, I don't specifically admit Chabad like the same level like Gebrachs, but is a minute that has been passed down, and it's a proper minute to accept when you're ready to accept this minute. To peel everything you eat, and any vegetable, any fruit, you'll peel first. It falls on the floor. When I go up, we peel it again, because that makes sense. We peel it again, not just to wash it, because even we mentioned before, some of the custom as a cake falls on the floor, they don't even use it, they don't even wash it. But for sure, if it falls on the floor, you want to peel it. It's a chumrah, it's a stringency. You have to keep it. Yeah, when you're ready to take upon yourself the chumrah, because from the concept, yeah. I would say, again, when it comes to chumras, there's no, not black and white. There's no yes and yes, no. Makes sense just to touch. I think it makes sense just to feel the part that touched it. You see clearly what touched it. But I'm sure there'll be some people that will peel the whole thing, and if they do, they're good for them. I mean, in other words, it's a stringency that we don't laugh at. This comes to stringencies. There is many stringencies when it comes to things. Then, yeah.
Where does it come from? What's the source of the
Peeling? I don't know. I don't know if we know. I mean, I definitely don't know the source of every single chumrah. I don't even think it's brought down. It's just passed down. And we know that when it comes to stringing of Pesach, it's accepted because we see that we can wait people accepted it, and we know it's a legit stringency. So, but what's the source? I don't know.
What's the thing with you different?
Yeah.
Different.
Difference?
Like the thing when like people will. And feel with one thing and you can't mess with it.
More with night, either.
Yeah, so you know, let's leave it to tomorrow, so I can go over more details. It's not, I think it's a little bit, not necessarily like that. You want to add something? Are you sure? On what? Hence, which food? Every food is different. You have to tell me which ones, I could tell you. Some yes, some no. A lot of them are not, most are not. Okay, so we'll continue, yeah, okay, yeah, so make sure tomorrow, we'll continue that, yeah.
You see, they're like, about, I like the balance.
About the balance, yeah, okay.
Basically, I heard or someone similar, and they had to like, like, you know, the balance on space and such. Like, when I grew up, I didn't really like that regularly, but when I went, my mother, like, my mother didn't know, like, she was like 2 fishes minutes, so she came with like 2. And when I was living in the moon, when I went, I was like 2. And once I came to campus, and my brother had like 1, I was the other 1. Like, I have to know, like, measure if I used to like, see.
It's probably you do, yeah.